Today's reading is part one of Under the Lunchbox Tree by John Kessel, part of a collection of short stories called The Baum Plan for Financial Independence. It is about 10 minutes long. Like other Okanagan Reader stories, it is licensed Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike. And now, Under the Lunchbox Tree, part one by John Kessel. On Monday, they started the god-awful Retreat Olympics with track and field at the Biodrome, and Myra, with a leap of 5 meters, placed last in the broad jump, and that was it. She vowed to be out of there by the end of the week. The infirmary was plan A and wasn't working. She sat on the examining table, her feet dangling, trying to look sick. The infirmary was only 2 rooms, an office and a treatment room that contained the table and a multi-scanner hovering over it like a big praying mantis. The scanner's boom was an off-white that must have been designed to reassure patients when it was new 20 years ago. The color reminded Myra of spoiled milk. One wall was tuned to a picture of a tropical paradise, probably Hawaii or the Philippines, if she knew her Earth landscapes. A cone-shaped green volcano in the distance hovered over a green field bordered by a white fence where horses stood about cropping grass or, poised, swag-bellied and sleepy-eyed with their heads down, their sweet faces thinking horsey thoughts, twitching a shoulder or haunch now and then to dislodge a fly. Even the horses did not improve Myra's state of mind. "I don't see any sign of an infection," the nurse called from the other room. She came into the examining room and laid the diagnostic window down beside Myra on the table. "You see?" The bar charts were all in the green. "My stomach hurts," Myra insisted. "There are no indications." The nurse was a pale matron wannabe with a ratty haircut. "Maybe I'm feeling a little better," Myra admitted. "I guess I'll just go back to my group." "Do you need me to take you?" the nurse asked in a way that made it entirely clear that the last thing she fancied was minding some malingering 12-year-old for a moment longer than she had to. "I'll be fine," Myra said. She hopped off the table. "Thanks." "Don't mention it." The nurse retreated to the office. As Myra left the clinic, she grabbed the diagnostic window, thumbed its release, crumpled it, and shoved it in her pocket. She fled the clinic down the corridor. She acted as if she was going back to the playing fields that took up half the volcanic bubble that contained Camp Swampy, but when she came to the archway that opened out onto the green fields and a great overarching white roof, she hurried past it toward the experimental forest habitat, trying to come up with a plan B. As she skipped along the hall, she sang. "My spacesuit has 3 holes in it. My suit, it has 3 holes. If it didn't have 3 holes in it, it wouldn't be my suit. 1 hole for my head, 1 hole used in bed. The other hole means, holy beans, I'm dead." Past the sauna, she veered left into the greenhouse. Beyond the semi-permeable barrier, the air was humid and the thick-leaved trees towered over the paths. Bright sunlight from the heliotropes in the roof filtered down through their branches. She heard the buzz of insects and chirp of birds. The thing she hated about the retreat was the phony sisterhood. It wasn't that Myra didn't like some of the girls. Kara and Rita were even her friends. It was that you were supposed to pretend that you had some mystical connection to people you wouldn't be caught dead marrying. Along the path, she found a lunchbox tree. The boxes nearest the trunk were small and green, but the ones farthest out and high up on the big limbs were square, white, and ripe. Myra leaped up a couple of meters or more and managed to snatch one. She landed clumsily, cradling the box in her lap. Raised letters on the celluloid read lunch. She pulled the top open. Inside were a sandwich, a cookie, a bladder of lemonade, and an apple. She broke the peanut butter and jelly sandwich from its stem inside and took a bite. As she ate, she dug Comet out of her pocket. She turned him over in her fingers and ran her thumbnail along its frozen black mane. Like Veronica. It was Veronica's trick at retreat to put on a big show of sisterhood when back in the colony she was the biggest backstabber in school. She gave away secrets and told lies. When Myra had revealed her plans to get a horse, Veronica had blabbed it to everyone in the school. Myra could hardly show her face for a month. Myra had more in common with her brother Marco than she would ever have with Veronica, but the counselors acted like you couldn't have that connection with a boy. Myra liked boys, and not just the sex part. Most boys, if they liked or didn't like you, they couldn't hide it. They didn't pretend to be your pal and then dirk you when you weren't around, or if a boy did try that, he wasn't any good at it. But in Sharing Circle, Myra had to keep such thoughts to herself, or they would accuse her of gender dysphoria. And, absolutely worst of all, retreat was boring. Myra broke the lemonade bladder away from the side of the lunchbox and sucked on its stem. The lemonade was a little sour, but good. She tucked Comet in one pocket and pulled the diagnostic window out of the other. She laid it flat, tugged the top corners to turn it rigid. It was a single-sheet display with a retractable pipette along the edge for taking blood samples. She played with the controls. She took the pipette and stuck it into the lemonade. After a moment, she stuck it into the ground next to her. The temperature display went into the orange. The blood readouts turned various shades of red. Myra blew into the pipette and reattached it to the side of the window. She took a bite of her apple. "What are you doing here?" Startled, Myra looked up. It was a man. She didn't think there were any men at Camp Swampy. The man wore green overalls and carried a caddy filled with spray bottles and plastic gloves. "You retreat girls aren't supposed to come into the greenhouse. We have a lot of experiments going on in here." Myra bowed her head. "I'm sorry," she said. "And you oughtn't be taking lunches from the trees." Myra blinked hard a couple of times and was gratified to generate a couple of tears. Eyes brimming, she looked up at the man. He was little, with white hair thinning on top, long enough on the sides to be pulled back and tied in a knot at the back of his neck. He had a round face and no chin. His eyes were innocent blue. He saw her tears, and his tone changed. He put down the caddy. "What's the matter?" My mother," Myra said. She pointed to the diagnostic window. "She's dying." "What?" He glanced at the window's readouts. "Where'd you get this?" "The director called me down to the clinic. They didn't say what it was about, and when I got there, the doctor, Myra threw a little quaver into her voice. "She said Mother had caught a retrovirus from the Aristarchans. They said she was under quarantine. I could only see her by remote, and they gave me this. They said it wouldn't do any good for me to go back home. I wouldn't be able to see her, so they're making me stay here for the rest of the retreat." "No." "Yes, and I couldn't go back to the meeting, so I ran away and hid in here. And I got hungry and—" The man knelt down next to her. "It's okay, girl, I get it. I can't go back to the retreat. There's really nothing else for you to do. Maybe if you ask the director." "She's the one who says I have to stay here." "I don't know what to say." "Can't you take me home?" "Oh, no, I couldn't." "Do you know where there's a rover?" "Well—" "You must if you work around here. Please, will you take me home? Please?" Girl, that's not for me to decide. I'm just a tech. Myra started to cry in earnest. It was almost as if her mother really were sick and dying. She imagined her, instead of being on vacation with Richard, floating in a tank of milky fluid being worked over desperately by nanomachines. Tiny telltales would wink red and green on monitors in the silent, dusky room. Please, she whispered.